Are you ready for the very first product release from DeFyant Arts in the Thrifty Apprentice Studios? Hi, I'm Kenyatta Johnson, also known as the Thrifty Apprentice, and I would like to introduce the DeFyant Art Bamboo Voyager Water Soluble Palette. This is a 100% bamboo 24 half pan natural travel palette that is great for watercolor and pan gouache. Careful consideration and exact specifications were submitted to the factory, and this product was chosen to offer artists a minimalist feel with a maximum result. Hello, friends. Happy Sunday, and welcome to a good old studio session. I am excited to show you the first product that will be sold under the DeFyant Arts branding. This project has been a journey in all honesty, but I am happy to say that at the end of it all, I'm able to present a product that I feel my branding looks good on. This is the Bamboo Voyager palette, and I'm going to be playing around with it in today's video with you all. Okay. Now, this is a soft product launch, so the palette will be a limited edition product. The hope is that the sales will do well enough to add them as a permanent product branded under the studio's name. Now, the palette comes in a craft corrugated box, which you did see in the opening of this video. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a huge fan of craft papers and boxes and natural elements of any kind. I also figured that it would be really cool for a wood palette to come in a craft box. Okay. Now, it's wrapped in a clear sealed plastic which easily opens from the back. Just pull this here. And yes, you do see the branding here on the front as well of the bag, which was an added bonus to say. And then here we have the actual palette itself. Now, the palette, in my opinion, is a beautiful bamboo wood. I love the color of it. That might have something to do with me being such a huge fan of wood. I'm not sure. Now, the measurements of the palette is 4.5 by 4, and it has an inch worth of depth inside. Now, it opens by sliding the top of it, which is held secure by magnets at the bottom or the side of the palette. It just depends on how you hold it. Now, inside are 4 carved wells that are already lined with 24 half pans for the paint of your choice. Now, you will have to source a surface to mix on, and I will admit I sacrificed that feature in order to have the palette open the way it does. Now, I'm going to be doing a painting demo in today's video, and I will be mixing on a small ceramic dish if need be. Now, you can fill your palette with whatever you want to, but for this one, I'm going to try to consolidate some other palettes into this one. That way I can use those paints more. Now, if you're still with me up until this point, I want you to go ahead and buckle down. This is a studio session, so it may be just a bit long. Let's go ahead and get started. To fill my palette today, I am going to be using several different brands that I happen to like. I have so much paint, friends, and I really need to start using what I have more and more. So I decided on using Daniel Smith paint sticks, core watercolors from Tubes, and Mei Liang Pretty Excellent watercolors from Tubes. I will not be filling every single half pan in the palette, but I will finish with a split primary that has plenty of greens and earth tones in it. The aim was to have color choices that would work well in plein air painting, in urban sketching, as well as indoor or outdoor landscapes and floral paintings. Now, paint sticks are a wonderful alternative to tubes, friends. I have found that you get just as much, if not more. You can cut down the stick and make half pans out of them. They typically cost about the same as open stock tubes, in some cases even cheaper depending on the brand. So, as I put the half pans together, I am placing what I use in order at the top of the screen. This is just going to make it easier to put together my swatch sheet a little further on in the video. I only had 3 paint sticks and they're in primary colors. So I added the opposite temperature color from the core to make sure there was both a warm and a cool version of the 3 primaries in the palette. When I got to the point to choose my greens, I purposely aimed to add more than I normally do to a regular palette. I figured since this was a travel palette, the greens would come in handy, especially in a situation where I was painting quickly and didn't want to have to mix colors. Convenience colors are really wonderful in that aspect. Now, this palette won't contain a convenience purple or violet, so I will have to mix those colors if I ever need to use them. I don't know. At some point, I may add the color to this from another set, another brand, so to speak, to this palette as well. I decided to also include a few more earth tones than normal to the palette. A yellow ochre. I switched it up a bit and went with a different kind of earthy reddish brown other than burnt sienna. I added 2 additional browns, which I don't normally work with. And of course, I rounded all of that out with the Payne's Gray, which I absolutely love as a color. I was really happy, that I opted to have the half pans come included in the palette. I was able to make quick work of setting up the palette, and I didn't have to worry about if the pans would fit. Because, sometimes half pans can have different shapes. So it makes it a little difficult to fit them inside just like any old palette of your choice from time to time. So it helped to have pan symmetry and to not have to worry about that. Now you may be asking yourself why I was okay with adding Pretty Excellent alongside my Daniel Smith and my core. Well, honestly, they are just as beautiful. Don't get me wrong. You can tell the difference in the quality between the 3. Yet, I feel like they are going to work super well together, and we are going to be getting around to a painting demo to give that theory a try. I would also like to point out that you see me tapping my pans as I fill them with the tube paints. I do this to level the paint out in the pan. So friends, here I have all of the colors put into the palette that I'm going to put in for now. I do have a couple of empty half pans just for some fill-in colors along the way as I run across different sets that are tube form or that are in paint stick form that I want to add a certain color from. There are some colors from like the Camel Artist watercolor set that I think are pretty unique that I may want to add. But for now, I'm just going to leave it here. Do have this, what I believe is a etcher. I believe that's Etcher's emblem. I'm going to make sure, but this is a sketchbook that was gifted to the studio. So I'm really going to be anxious to test this paper out. I think I'm going to dedicate this sketchbook to this little on-the-go set here. And this is, I think this is linen, but maybe I'll take acrylic or maybe watercolor ground or figure out a way to paint on this. maybe possibly acrylic. That way I know it can be handled with no issues. But yeah, what I want to do at this point is make up a little swatching section inside the front of this sketchbook so that we can swatch the colors that we have together, and that will give the paints a little time to dry down a bit as I set up the actual swatching section. I'm having fun. Hopefully you guys are too. Like I told you, it was just going to be like a studio hangout session. So, I'm going to, now that first, let's see, that first page doesn't necessarily lay down flesh to open. It will that way. So this is probably going to be a decorative page where, you know, I kind of do some lettering work, pen work, maybe some stamping, turn it into a mixed media welcome page to the sketchbook. But we'll start the swatching here. To swatch the paint, I started out by stamping a swatch area in my sketchbook using Paint Crush's watercolor stamp swatching set. As stated in many other videos, I absolutely love this swatch set, and I find myself using it over and over, even in combination with other sets to create many different types of swatch sheets and craft projects. Now for the first 10 swatches, I used a mason jar from the set, and for the last 7, I used the smaller tape roll so I could fit all of the swatches onto one page and on one side of the paper. Now, you don't have to have this set or swatching stamps at all. There are so many different ways to make a swatching sheet, even if it's just painting a block of color onto a piece of paper, water soluble, using a black Sharpie to put down a line to test opaqueness. I was really surprised at how well this paper took the stamping. Normally, watercolor paper is so textured that it takes a minute to get a good impression of the stamp. However, I didn't find that to be the case with this paper. Now, I will run through the colors and pigment numbers for what I have included in this palette, just in case you happen to be interested in it. So we are going to start out with swatching Permanent Alizarin Crimson. That is from the Daniel Smith line, and it is PR 177. Next up, we are going to be swatching Pyro Red Light. This color is from the core line of watercolors, and the pigment number is PR 255. Going into our yellows, we are swatching Nickel Azo Yellow. This color is from Core as well, and its pigment number is PY 150. We're going to move on to the Bismuth Yellow, and I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that, but that is Daniel Smith, and the pigment number is PY 184. Now the next 6 colors are all going to be Maylene Pretty Excellent. This is made by the same company that makes Paul Rubens. The first color is Olive Green, which is a triple pigment, PY 183, PR 101, and PG 7. Directly behind that, we're swatching Emerald Green, which is a single pigment, PG 7, which is basically just phthalo green. Next up, we're swatching Deep Hooker's Green. Now, Deep Hooker's Green is a 3-pigment color, PB 15, PG 7, and PY 139. Next up is just regular Hooker's Green, which again is a 3-pigment color, being PB 15, PO 49, and PG 7. Right behind that, we have Tree Green. Now, Tree Green is a dual pigment, which listed on the tube was PO 36 and PO 49, but I really do need to check that to see if the tube had a misprint, because I can't see 2 orange pigments making a green by themselves. And then lastly, we had Yellow Green, which is another dual pigment color, PG 7 and PY 3. Now, all of the pretty excellent colors, with the exception of the emerald green, were dual pigments. And most of the other colors from Daniel Smith as well as Core are all single pigment. Next up, we had the blue, ultramarine blue, of course, coming from Core, being PB29. Next, we have phthalo blue, which came from Daniel Smith, and that is PB15:3. Moving into our earth tones, the first one is the yellow ochre, which the yellow ochre came from Core, and that is PY43. And then I switched things around a little bit, and instead of putting in a burnt sienna, I added a quinacridone gold deep, which is PO48. Rounding that off, I added two browns, which I typically don't paint with in my palettes. The first one being Van Dyke Brown from Core, dual pigment, PR101 and PBR7. And the second being Burnt Brown, also from Core, being a single pigment, PBR7. Lastly, Payne's Gray from Core, PB15:3, PBK7, and PV19. I figured since we were going to be doing a demo, I could take this opportunity to share some information with you about my sketching and painting process that may just help you out. The first thing I am going to do is create a composition on my page, of course. To begin, I will sketch out the different elements I wanted in the painting at the top of the page just to practice it before jumping into the real sketch. I do this whenever I am drawing directly on my watercolor paper and I am not transferring my image from a traceable that I have created. The first element is a cherry blossom. Second, I sketched out a clementine, and I also did 3 different types of leaves. Now, no, none of these elements come on the same plant in real life, but my goal here was to combine them to create a whimsical type flower that would fit perfectly into a watercolor journal I am creating centered around the world of Whimsyville. As most of you know, that is a fictional story mixed media paint-along journal I am currently working on creating. For the main composition, I started out by roughing in circles for a flower cluster. To that center circle, I am adding ovals that will serve as the shape of the petals for my flower. As you can see, I sketch really loosely at first. I will be going back to sure up my lines before I start my inking process. Now I am using a H pencil to sketch with. The lines of this lettered pencil are really soft and light. This makes them easy to erase, especially if you draw lightly to begin with. Now to the composition, I am adding 3 clementines and leaves from oak trees and regular fiddle leaves. All of these were combined into one painting to create this whimsical looking hybrid plant. I used a series of lines, dots, and dashes to add just a little more pizzazz to my painting, and then I started to sure up the lines of my composition. It is at this point that you will see me adding the stamens to the center of the flowers and any final details I may need to. I try to do this as much as I can in the sketching phase, so there is not a lot to fix in the painting step. Making sure you have an accurate sketch from the beginning completely assists with less headaches during the painting process. Trust me on this. Once I was finished with the sketch, it was time to start fine-lining the composition. Now, it's pretty easy process, for I'm simply tracing what I already sketched. The lining process is also the stage where you can choose to sort of embellish the lines of your sketch to add your own personality to your drawing. For the actual painting, I am choosing to paint the fruit an unusual color just to imply that it was creative. But I will keep the leaves in the common green color, although I should have gone a little crazy with that color as well, in all honesty. Now, I'll let you all follow along through with the rest of the demo, for I've explained the more complicated part already, and I will meet you all on the other end of the completed composition. that was fun. I really enjoyed that. This turned out pretty decent. Hopefully you guys kind of painted along and enjoyed yourselves. I'm going to grab a bigger pen just to put some more marks in here, just to give it a little bit more oomph. But yeah, just take your time and enjoy. Just enjoy art for the love of art. You know, that's how I feel about it. Art for the love of art. So, a couple of things I want to announce before I jump on off. Thank you for hanging out with me during this studio session. First things first, I actually want to give one of the bamboo palettes away. So again, let me just grab it so you guys can see it. There we have it. And I want to give one away, and maybe I'm going to make a little card out of the painting that we did in the video today to include with the palette. I don't know. It's kind of cool. So let's do one palette giveaway, and then I'm going to tell you about the launch of the palette. So here's what I want you to do. Just jump in the comment section and let me know that you hung out with me today and that you watched. We're not going to make this really complicated. I'm going to choose one winner at random, and it will be announced. The winner will be announced in Wednesday's video release, this upcoming Wednesday's video release. So I want to give one of them away that somebody can enjoy one. The launch for the palette is set for June 1st. Oh, motorcycles outside. Set for June 1st. I am going to have to launch it and sell it through Etsy. I really didn't want to, but that's how we're just going to have to do for this soft launch. Hopefully, if things go well, as I said earlier in the video, I want to definitely place these as a permanent product, so under the company's branding. So hopefully you guys have really enjoyed this video. So get yourself one of these palettes in today's video for free giveaway by simply commenting in the comment section that you hung out and what you enjoyed about the video. And I will do a random selection, and we'll be announcing that winner in this upcoming Wednesday video excuse me, following today. And keep in mind that the palette is going to launch June 1st on Etsy. There will be posts made about it in the community section on June 1st. There will be posts made about it on Instagram, posts made about it on Facebook. So you will definitely, you know, if you're following the Thrifty Apprentice on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, you will definitely get notifications about it. Its release and the direct link to order the palette if you decide you want to add it to your art supply arsenal. So if you enjoyed hanging out, don't forget, as I asked earlier in the video, give the video a thumbs up, sprinkling a little love. Hey, share this video. I would love for other people to kind of know about the product and see if it's something that they would want to maybe, grab up for themselves. Don't forget the contest or the giveaway /contest. Jump in the comment section. Let me know what's up. What did you enjoy about the video? Check the video description for all relevant links. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, do consider subscribing. This channel is a water-soluble channel. Well, it's a mixed media channel. We do watercolor paints, watercolor crayons, watercolor pencils, water-soluble inks, watercolor markers, watercolor brush pens. But then we also do like oil pastels, alcohol markers, colored pencils. So there's a different variety of things that you can enjoy on this channel, whether you are a new or experienced artist, whether you're new to a medium or not. So do consider subscribing and hanging out with us on a regular basis. Thank you so much. And as I tell you at the end of every video, just keep creating.